Have you ever wondered what it truly means to believe in something so deeply that you would give up everything for it? Your home, your wealth, your family, your very life. Today, we journey back in time to explore the incredible stories of the Sahaba, the companions of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. These were ordinary people who made extraordinary sacrifices, laying the very foundation of Islam with their unwavering faith and selfless devotion. Their stories aren't just historical accounts, they are powerful lessons in conviction, courage, and the true meaning of commitment. Let's start at the very beginning, in Mecca. Imagine living in a society where your beliefs are not just unpopular, but dangerous. The early Muslims faced intense persecution. They were mocked, insulted, and physically harmed. Yet, they stood firm. Take Bilal ibn Rabah, for instance. He was a slave whose master would drag him out under the scorching midday sun, place a heavy boulder on his chest, and demand he renounce his faith. But through the pain and torment, Bilal's only response was Ahad and Ahad one, referring to the oneness of God. His freedom was eventually purchased by Abu Bakr, but his story shows the immense physical endurance and spiritual strength of the early believers. They valued their faith more than their own comfort, more than their own safety. Then there was the family of Yasser. Yasser, his wife Sumayya, and their son Ammar were among the first to embrace Islam. They were not from a powerful tribe, which made them easy targets. They were brutally tortured by the polytheists of Mecca. The Prophet Muhammad would pass by them, his heart aching, and could only offer them words of comfort, promising them a place in paradise. Sumayya, in an act of incredible defiance and faith, became the first martyr in Islam, sacrificing her life rather than her belief. Her husband Yasser and son Ammar also faced immense hardship. This family's story illustrates that the commitment to Islam was a family affair, a shared conviction that they were willing to die for. As the persecution in Mecca grew unbearable, the Prophet permitted a migration. But this wasn't a simple move. It was a sacrifice of everything they had ever known. The first migration was to Abyssinia, a Christian kingdom ruled by a just king, the Negus. The companions left behind their homes, their businesses, and their extended families, venturing into an unknown land, all for the sake of practicing their religion freely. This was a huge sacrifice of their identity and belonging. They chose faith over their homeland. Later came the Great Migration, the Hijra, to Medina. This was a turning point for Islam, but it demanded even greater sacrifices. Think of Suhaib al-Rumi. He was a wealthy merchant in Mecca. When he decided to migrate, the Quraysh stopped him and said, "You came to us with nothing, and now you want to leave with all this wealth. That will not happen." Suhaib, without a moment's hesitation, made them an offer. "What if I leave you all my wealth? Will you let me go?" They agreed. He gave up every single coin he had earned over a lifetime for the chance to join the Prophet in Medina. When he arrived, weary from his journey, the Prophet greeted him with the words, "The trade has been profitable, O Suhaib." The trade has been profitable. He had traded worldly riches for something far more valuable in the eyes of his faith. The companions also sacrificed their personal relationships and tribal loyalties. In pre-Islamic Arabia, the tribe was everything. It was your protection, your identity, your social security. To go against your tribe was unthinkable. Yet, the Sahaba did just that. They chose the brotherhood of faith over the brotherhood of blood. This was evident in battles where a father might find himself on the opposite side of his son, or a brother against a brother. Musab ibn Umair is a prime example. He was a young man from a very wealthy family in Mecca, known for his fine clothes and expensive perfumes. When he embraced Islam, his family disowned him completely. They took away all his riches, and he went from a life of luxury to one of extreme poverty. He became the first ambassador of Islam, sent to Medina to teach the people about the new faith. He was so successful that by the time the Prophet migrated, most of the city had embraced Islam. Musab eventually died a martyr in the Battle of Uhud, so poor that the small cloth they had was not enough to cover his entire body. He gave up worldly status for a status with God. And of course, We must talk about the financial sacrifices. The companions understood that building a community and spreading a message required resources. Abu Bakr al-Siddiq was a wealthy merchant who spent his fortune in the service of Islam. He freed slaves like Bilal, he funded expeditions, and he supported the poor. On one occasion, when the Prophet was collecting donations for the Tabuk expedition, Umar ibn al-Khattab decided he would try to outdo Abu Bakr in charity for once. He brought half of his entire wealth. But then Abu Bakr arrived, and when the Prophet asked him, "What have you left for your family?" Abu Bakr replied, "I have left for them Allah and His Messenger." He had brought everything he owned. This wasn't a one-time event, it was a consistent pattern of giving. Uthman ibn Affan, another wealthy companion, famously bought a well from a man who was charging the Muslims for water and made it free for everyone. During a famine, he donated an entire caravan of goods, 1,000 camels loaded with food, to the poor of Medina, when he could have sold it for an astronomical profit. These men saw their wealth not as their own, but as a trust from God, to be used for the good of the community. They didn't just give their spare change, they gave from the core of their livelihood. The women companions, the Sahaba, also made immense sacrifices. We've already mentioned Sumayya. There was also Salama, who was separated from her husband and her son for a year during her attempt to migrate. She would go out every day and weep until her relatives finally took pity on her. Khadija, the Prophet's first wife, was a wealthy and respected businesswoman who spent her entire fortune supporting the Prophet and the early Muslim community during the difficult years in Mecca. She endured a 3-year boycott where the Muslims were isolated and faced starvation. She stood by the Prophet's side, offering emotional and financial support until her last breath. Their contributions were just as vital. Ultimately, many companions made the ultimate sacrifice, their lives. The battles of Badr, Uhud, the Trench, and many others were not fought for land or power. For the Sahaba, they were fought to defend their right to exist and to worship God. Young men like Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, in the Battle of Mu'tah, held the flag of the Muslim army. When his right hand was cut off, he held it with his left. When his left hand was cut off, he held it with his forearms until he was martyred. He was later known as Ja'far al-Tayyar, the Flying One, because the Prophet said he saw him in a vision with wings in paradise. These stories of sacrifice are not meant to make us feel inadequate. They are meant to inspire us. They show what is possible when faith is not just a word you say, but the very lens through which you see the world. The Sahaba gave up their homes, wealth, status, families, and lives. And in return, they built a global community that has lasted for over 1400 years and earned a legacy of honor that continues to inspire millions. They understood that what they were giving up was temporary, fleeting. What they were striving for was eternal. Their lives are a testament to the Quranic verse that says, "Indeed, Allah has purchased from the believers their lives and their properties in exchange for paradise." They took that deal, and their stories continue to echo through the ages, calling us to reflect on our own convictions and what we are willing to do for the things we truly believe in. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the lives of the Sahaba. If these stories moved you, please give this video a like and share it with others who might find it inspiring. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next video. What story of sacrifice inspires you the most? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, take care and stay inspired.